This segment of Peter Greenberg Worldwide is proudly brought to you by
MedJet Assist. If you're injured or hospitalized while traveling, MedJet Assist will arrange medical transportation directly to the hospital of your choice. Travel safely and be smart. Get MedJet Assist. Take trips, not chances.
Now back to Peter Greenberg.
18 minutes after the hour, Peter Greenberg here with you from the Revel Hotel and Resort in Atlantic City, New Jersey, taking your calls at 888-887-3837. That's 888-88-PETER. If you can't get through on the phones, you know the drill. You email me to peter@petergreenberg.com with your name, phone number, question, or problem. We will solve it right here on the air. Every time there is a natural disaster somewhere in the world, my next guest is part of an organization that is truly the first responder. They get there, and they stay there much longer than front page news would let you think. When it's no longer on the front page, they're still there. And they do unbelievable work, whether it's in Haiti, whether it's in Western China, whether it's in Chile, whether it's in Christchurch, New Zealand, whether it's right here in New Jersey post-Hurricane Sandy. And that, of course, is the American Red Cross. And joining me now from the American Red Cross is Dave Schrader. Hey, how are you, man?
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm glad that you're here because when something like Hurricane Sandy happens, and we were all, I live on Long Island, actually on Fire Island in New York, so we were badly affected as well. I mean, you guys were stretched thin. You guys really had to get out there because there were so many things to do.
No question about it. One of the things about the Red Cross is we respond no matter where it is, no matter what the time. That's our mandate. And the local Red Crosses are usually overwhelmed in a major disaster like Hurricane Sandy. So people have to be brought in from all over the country. We try to fly them in as quickly as possible, bring them in. We brought in thousands and thousands of people from around the country into the area of New Jersey and New York as quickly as we could.
And the good news about this, if there's any good news about it, you had some advance warning. You knew this. The weather forecasters weren't kidding.
Oh, no question about it. We were definitely warned that it could be a bad storm. We positioned our supplies and our people accordingly as best we could. We didn't want them to be in the line of the fire, so to speak. We needed to keep them somewhat safe out of the danger way, but easily accessible to where the danger would hit. So that's kind of how we positioned things, and that's how we reacted.
You know, I've been through a number of storms. Last year, of course, we had Hurricane Irene, which went up and down the East Coast, and New York got hit, but it didn't get half as hit as upstate New York or even Vermont. Who knew it was going to go to Vermont, a hurricane in Vermont, right? In a situation like this, you know, the storm hits, it passes. I mean, not Sandy. Storm hits, it passes. There's some shelters open up at high schools, blah, 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 and then people sort of forget about it, right?
Right.
You can't forget about all the displaced people, all the homes that were lost, all the homes that were burned, all the homes that are no longer with us. I can show you pictures from my own beach where you see the supports but no house left. They're gone, right?
Yeah, you really hit it on the head when you say we're there long past the headlines. The Red Cross right now is planning to be in New York and New Jersey for months, potentially years. And right now we're already in New York. We're still doing the emergency relief operation. That's the food and clothing and shelter.
Roll that by me. What is that exactly?
So basically, the emergency relief is like the immediate aftermath to meet the needs of people, survival mode, really, where they're getting things like food and clothing and shelter, places to stay, keeping warm, things like that. New Jersey is a little bit further along. And so right now, New Jersey, we're sort of moving into the next phase of long-term recovery, where there's no longer a big need for shelter per se. So we will now transitioning to helping them find permanent housing. We're working with partners and area community groups to identify long-term needs, and we are going to facilitate that happening, working with local partners, because this is a disaster far beyond one organization. We rely on community groups to get a lot of the work done.
Now, after Haiti, of course, you guys were brilliant down there. And the American people stepped up to the plate with texting donations on their cell phones. Did they text donations on their cell phones for Sandy?
Oh, no question about it. The text donation program has been very successful. I think it's just because people are so familiar with using their phones. It's so easy. $10 is very tangible. $10 buys 2 blankets to help people. So it's a very tangible donation. You know what it goes for. And of course, it's been very generous. American people have been very generous. They always have. They step up anytime there's a major disaster like this.
But there's one thing we do need to tell my listeners, and that is this. When a disaster like this strikes, the last thing, as well-intentioned as you may be, the last thing that first responders need is you at the scene, because you can't help. Unless you're already a member of the Red Cross or a first responder, fire, police, any kind of emergency worker, Don't do that yet. But where you can be helpful is in the second responder, in coming in when things are more stabilized and working with local communities, help rebuilding schools, help rebuilding infrastructure, if you will.
No question about it. The Red Cross, we have what we call them spontaneous volunteers, people who see disaster and then want to jump in and help. We try to accommodate them as best we can, but there are some things that we require training. It's not something we can just do overnight.
Yeah, you'll get in trouble if you've not been properly trained.
No question about it. We did take on people who can do specific tasks that we could do sort of on the spot, but most volunteers have been pre-trained by us and brought in from elsewhere.
Right. I mean, in the community where I live, we're just getting power back now. And the reason is because the fire department ruled we do not want to repower these communities because we'll lose houses, because salt water and electrical don't really mix very well. And so it's a very painstaking, slow process. And in that period, how many people are in temporary housing? How many people have been displaced? How many animals have been displaced? And just let me add this. Go to my website, petergreenberg.com. Look under all the relief and aid organizations that are out there, including the ASPCA, that has done such a great job in helping to find homes and taking to shelters all of these displaced animals, too.
No question about it. And that's been, again, we have great partners who work with us to make sure that pets are taken care of as well as people. And you hit on those again about the response. Each community is different, so the needs in one community may be different than the needs of another. One community might have their power back on, and their needs are going to be much different than the community who still has no power or can't go back onto the island. So the Red Cross works with the community organizations, churches, religious organizations, other community organizations to tailor the response to those people.
In terms of surprises, what was the biggest surprise to you in terms of Sandy?
I think it was just the vastness of it. I mean, you knew it was going to hit, you knew it was going to be bad, but I guess the fact that it was so widespread and it hit in an urban area. I mean, where it was a very horizontal disaster as opposed to widespread.
Yeah, you know what it is?
High rises as opposed to sort of vast area outward.
Let's talk stereotypes. I don't know how you respond to this, but I'll tell you how I respond to this. I grew up, every year, there's always news coverage of a tornado that hits Armpit, Kansas. Wherever Armpit, Kansas is, I use that as a term. It's always a trailer park. You know, it's always someplace that doesn't relate to my life, right? And so you go, oh, there goes another tornado again, you know. This was different, right? This hit close to home for so many people who'd never experienced something like this before. I mean, I grew up with hurricanes when I was a kid on the East Coast where we had no early warning system. We just woke up and saw chimneys start flying by our house, literally, right? And then we have live wires on the streets and we couldn't get out for like 3 or 4 days. This is different, though. You had warning. People needed to listen to those warnings. They needed to evacuate. But even then, I don't think anybody thought it was going to be as bad as it was.
Unfortunately, there's some things you just can't predict and some things you can't prepare for ultimately. You do your best you can. You set out a game plan to get people prepared and get them ready. But you just, unless you see it for yourself, until you experience it, I guess you truly don't believe it can happen.
I mean, if I had said to you 3 months ago, there's going to be the superstorm in which Atlantic City's going to have to close for 5 days, like every casino is going to shut down, you would say to me, get out of here.
I wouldn't now, though. But yes, before it hit, I certainly would have thought that, yes. But the Red Cross, we were prepared for sort of worst case scenarios. So I've sort of learned that as working for the Red Cross, that I don't think anything for granted in that respect at all.
What was your biggest challenge in Sandy?
I think the initial getting supplies and services to the affected areas. There were immense challenges in terms of travel, in terms of
because of the flooding,
and the roads were closed. I mean, things were it was very difficult to get around, and getting people here from around the airport. The airport was closed. Things, Amtrak wasn't up.
Look, there was that haunting
picture. So getting
picture.
people here was the biggest challenge.
I think what the wake-up call was for most of America when they did that haunting picture of the runways at LaGuardia under 4 feet of water. Did you see that? That's an unbelievable picture. You just saw a jetway and water, and not a single plane there because the airlines were smart enough to get all their assets out before the storm hit.
So the challenges that everyday Americans feel, the Red Cross is facing those as well. We have our own volunteers. We don't want to put them in a dangerous position either.
Give me the website so people can donate.
Redcross.org is the best place to go.
Or if they want to text on the phone?
They text Red Cross, all one word, to 90999. $10 right on your phone bill.
Right. Can you text more?
Well, you have to text multiple times, but it's $10 per time.
Most kids under the age of 16 do that anyway.
Yeah. They're much more savvy than I would be on that, no question about it.
And how much have you raised so far?
We're about $170 million.
Wow.
And anything above and beyond what we need for emergency relief will be put into a long-term recovery plan and tailored to various communities that need it still long past the emergency relief.
Once again, AmericanExpress.org. Did I just say American Express? No, you do not donate anything to American Express. It's the AmericanRedCross.org.
Redcross.org.
Redcross.org. And the text line number is?
Red Cross, all one word, to 90999.
Dave Schrader from the American Red Cross. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back right after this.
To participate in the program and speak with Peter Greenberg, call 1-888-887-3837 or visit Peter Greenberg.